Well, good afternoon, everybody. No music video today. I want to get back on the train, as it were, with sharing with you some of the dudes' videos. And this is a great one with Dr. Richard Leo. And it's quite a long one, about an hour and 5 minutes. So we'll probably break it up into 3 or 4 segments, maybe 4 segments, about 15 or so minutes each. Anyway, as I say, it's Erekose with Professor Richard Leo, and he's got another a panel of experts along with him, and yours truly. We'll just jump straight in. I click on that one there, on that one there, and that one there, and we should all be ready to rock and roll. Get rid of me up there. Put that screen to full so you can all see. And here we go. First part of conversation with well, there's the dude, Zelma Lopez of the Hod, Dr. Silkman, the mad professor, mad Scotsman, and one and only Professor Richard Leo. So here we go. Let's click on the play. And
hi, Saturday, 4th of July. Hope you guys are all getting geared up for your festivities. We're here today to have a little chat with Dr. Richard Leo about false confessions, interrogations, and to kind of get into that and talk a little bit about Brendan Dassey and stuff like that. But before we get into talking about that and stuff, I just wanted to show everybody something real quick. I finally got for Denise Rainey. You guys know who we all lost recently. I got my Denise Rainey tie on today. So, you know, we all love and miss Denise. And so I just wanted to show off that, you know, that it is a wonderful, lovely tie. It's, you know, beautiful. So I'd suggest, you know, if you guys like it, go out and buy one from the store. About that and stuff. I just wanted. Oh, good. I'm glad that wasn't me. So
that was you.
All righty, folks. All right. So
me.
as you can see, I've got what you might call an all-star panel of Brendan Stevens supporters here, at least in my opinion, if Mark doesn't think he is. And we also have Dr. Richard Leo here, who many of you may know filed a brilliant affidavit on Brendan's behalf when his case was in before Judge Duffin. And we're going to talk about, you know, false confessions, the pressures that are applied, and how these things all, you know, what all goes on in these false confessions, and how maybe talk a little bit about how to look forward to possibly preventing them in the future, or moving forward, or changes that can be made, or that we want to all maybe advocate to be made possibly. So I want to go ahead and say hi, Dr. Richard Leo. Thank you for being here. And if you want to go ahead and let everybody know a little bit about yourself and you know, real quick.
Well, first, thank you for inviting me to be on the program. I am a professor of law and psychology at the University of San Francisco. I was previously a professor of psychology and criminology for many years at UC Irvine. For 3 decades, I've been studying police interrogations, psychological coercion, and false convictions and wrongful convictions. As a result of that, I've written lots of articles, lots of books, and I've been involved in a lot of court cases where there's been a disputed interrogation or disputed confession, sometimes at trial, sometimes pre-trial, sometimes post-conviction, sometimes all of the above. And one of the cases that I worked on in 2009, as Erekose mentioned, was the Brendan Dassey case. That was before it was well known. I had been contacted by Steve Drizzen, as everyone knows, a clinical law professor representing Brendan Dassey at Northwestern University. When I was contacted by him, however, he was relatively new to the case. And, you know, he's a great lawyer, a great teacher, a big heart, very smart lawyer, and human. And, you know, so he got me the materials and I reviewed it, and I saw all kinds of problems with the interrogations. I wrote about those in a, you know, I want to say it's a report, but it may have been transferred into a declaration. So same thing, just a different format in the United States. There's something called the Social Science Research Network, which is a free website where a lot of social scientists and law professors will post their publications. I did post my report on my SSRN website. It can be downloaded for free for anybody who's interested.
Most guitar teachers are like bad doctors. They just prescribe pills, creams, and Band-Aids that only treat.
And I went to testify, and I was opposed by Joseph Buckley, who is the president of Reed and Associates, who was retained by the prosecution, who kind of instinctively said in his rebuttal report to me and in his testimony, no, the police did everything fine. I think since Brendan Dassey's case has become a cause célèbre, he may have changed his view on that, or he may have two different views. I don't know. But at that time, he was defending the state, and the judge, of course, as everyone here knows, did not find that the confession was involuntary or that trial counsel was ineffective for failing to hire an expert like me. And then, of course, Brendan's case went to the next level. The Seventh Circuit in federal habeas, which we all know the very sad history there.
Right.
So maybe that's, I don't mean to go on for a long introduction, but that's who I am and how I got involved in this case. And I haven't had much exposure to the case since then. I occasionally will talk to students about it. Dean Strang was a visiting professor at my law school. So I signed a book on the case in the fall. He came and talked to my class. But my piece of the case was sort of over at that point in 2009, 2010.
Right. Well, I want to ask you one question, obviously, because you do know, obviously, confessions and that sort of stuff and interrogations well. And I have had retired FBI agent Steve Moore on my channel, and I've asked him this question. So I wanted to go ahead and get your answer to it. Can you tell us, my audience and everybody, basically in your mind, the difference between an interview and an interrogation?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and it's an important question. In America, they are different. So let's just start with police training. Police are trained in the difference between an interview and an interrogation, but they also are trained or learn that you always refer to an interrogation as an interview, because interrogation connotes bright lights, it connotes Guantanamo Bay, it connotes accusation. So even though they're trained in the difference between interview and interrogation, they're always going to call it an interview. Now, I can give a long or a short answer to the question. The shortest answer would be an interview is where I ask you what the answer to my question is. An interrogation is where I tell you, right? So an interrogation is accusatory. You did this. An interrogation is confrontational. An interrogation involves pressure and persuasion. The goal of an interrogation is to get you to confess to my preconceived belief about your guilt so that I can hand that very damning piece of evidence to the prosecution and the state will successfully convict you. Right. An interview is a question and answer. It's not supposed to be leading. It's not supposed to be suggestive. It's not confrontational. It's not accusatory. The idea is that I recede into the background. I ask you questions. I get the information for the purpose of developing theories, leads, advancing the case, getting the truth. So in an interrogation, if they're following their training, the interrogator will do a lot of the talking, most of the talking, and they will cut you off with their body language, with their words, because the idea comes straight out of the famous Reed method, which we can talk about if you want. Joseph Buckley was, of course, is the president of Reed. But the idea is that if you let the suspect in an interrogation talk, you're letting them release anxiety, and it's going to be harder to move them from the denial to the admission. You need pressure and persuasion and to overcome their denials and their objections. So interview and interrogation are very, very different. We can talk more about interrogation if you like, but they're very, very different. And this is really a great question because it's the most fundamental place to start in this discussion.
Yeah, I believe so. And I would say Steve Moore's kind of definition was very similar. He said in interrogation, you already know what you're looking for. You're just, and he goes, but in an interview, I'm actually looking for information. And that's how he defined the difference himself. So it was great. So obviously the officers also are trying to create a feeling of hopelessness in you as they are interrogating you, right?
They wouldn't use that word.
I'm sure they wouldn't.
But a lot of the discussion by police about interrogation is euphemistic, sometimes even Orwellian. But they would say they're trying to get you to stop lying and start telling the truth.
Right.
Which of course presumes they know what the truth is, since interrogation is a goal-directed, confession-driven interaction. But the way that process works psychologically is to make somebody feel captured, cornered, trapped, or hopeless.
Right.
So if we remove the moral, are you pro-police, anti-police? Are you critical? Are you sympathetic? And we just think of it as describing the psychological phenomena. That is what often leads people, especially innocent people, to falsely confess.
Sure. I agree. I mean, Melissa Kalyazinski is one that kind of leaps to mind. Very similar. That caved, and as we know, the Innocence Project recently, came out with that stat where we know that 25% of the people they've exonerated that gave a confession, 25% of them gave a false confession, which is staggering in murder convictions. To have 25% of them, of those, to have that kind of a stat of 1 in 4 involving a false confession. But
that's for adults. You get it to juveniles and people with intellectual disabilities. It's about 70 or 80%.
80%, right? 70 or 80, right? Yes. So obviously these are the tactics that get used. But it would seem to me, as I was watching Brendan go through habeas, Dr. Leo, that the courts are trying to say that you're not supposed to apply a full read technique to a kid like Brendan. Or at least that was the impression I got, and I'd like to get your thoughts on that. Was a full read technique being exerted on Brendan, and 2, should it be exerted on a kid like Brendan?
Since February, all homes in Scotland are required to have interlinked smoke and heat alarms. Wireless interlinked alarms give the ultimate protection for.
I think that would be possibly a suitable place to stop. We're about 12, 13 minutes in. Would look forward to Richard Leo's answer to that question about whether the full read was used on Brendan, and if it was, should it? And you never know, we might actually get around to hearing from Mrs. Lopez and also Zelma, and also maybe Dr. Silkman, and maybe a bit more of the Hod. Maybe even I will get to chirp in. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that first segment of the chat with Richard Leo, and for the next one, I'll make sure I've got the book handy. It's upstairs, the Richard Leo book, so you can see what it looks like. It's a really good book about the police interrogation, American. It's called Police Interrogation and American Justice. Which, I say it's a hefty read, but well worth it. It covers a lot of the history behind the psychological coercion techniques. Anyway, I'm going to shut up. I've got to go to Speedway tonight. Got to convert this video, and we'll catch you all with the second part. Maybe tomorrow. Who knows? Catch you soon. Bye for now.